This podcast is not sponsored or supported by any business or organization. The views reflected on these podcast episodes are my own. Please be aware I am not a medical expert, travel agent, or any other kind of expert. Hey everyone! Welcome to the Eat, Explore, Love podcast. I'm Ashley. This podcast is based off of my blog of the same name, Eat, Explore, Love. It talks about the unique challenges in traveling around the world when you have celiac disease. Due to sort of popular demand, I decided to also record a podcast to delve a little deeper into my travels and the lessons learned along the way. On this episode of Eat, Explore, Love, the podcast, I am so excited to talk about my journey at Palermo, which is in a city in Sicily, Italy. I didn't really have any expectations of going to Sicily other than people telling me how beautiful it is. There's so much I didn't know until I did these tours and went on all these different experiences. The biggest lesson for me on this trip was Hollywood presents a certain idea of places, and oftentimes that's not the reality of how it actually works. So, which we all know, and I work in TV, film, video production, so I know I was taught in school, don't let the truth get in the way of a good story. So I understood that logically. So when that's the only way I'm getting certain pieces of information about certain groups of people, it's always, I don't know why it surprises me when I find out that the reality is quite different from what Hollywood portrays. So I'm really excited to talk about Palermo and my experience there. Here we go. For eating in Palermo, I only had to go to AIC-approved places, which was great. AIC is an organization, it's a celiac organization in Italy that essentially goes to different establishments, whether that be restaurants or grocery stores, bakeries, what have you, and deems if it is safe for people with celiac. So that was great. That's why I like and feel safest traveling in Palermo, because I get to look at this app and know for a fact I'm going to be okay. Still, you have to say that you're gluten-free and make sure, because it doesn't mean that they're 100% gluten-free establishments. It just means that they are able to cook and run their operation in such a way that is safe for people with celiac. And you could get the app AIC when you go to Italy and take a look and look at their website and all that other fun stuff. So all these restaurants are approved by the AIC organization. Panificio Delizie, sorry, pardon my pronunciations, but the spelling of everything will be in my blog, hieatexplorelove.com. So check that out to see how it's written. But it was a bakery with so many really great, delicious options for pastries, which was really awesome. I had a different pastry every morning and I felt spoiled. Sesto Canto is another restaurant, and it was probably the best meal I had in the entire trip. So definitely recommend Sesto Canto. Grano Gradnis, I had a really good experience here, so make sure to check out Grano Gradnis, Pizzeria Procopio. It was a really good food, and the staff was super friendly, and I even got to try my first gluten-free cannoli, so that was fun. Mastonicola was a good option. It had really pretty much gluten-free pizza and some appetizers, but the appetizers were so filling, I needed to take my pizza home. So if you're willing to just have pizza, I would go there. If you want more variety, maybe not the best place. Bistro 107, I did not have the best experience here. I did not feel well afterwards, and the staff made me very uncomfortable. But there's a lot of traditional Sicilian food options that are made gluten-free there. So if you want the traditional Sicilian food options, definitely go check it out. And just because I personally didn't have a good experience with the staff there, doesn't mean that that will be the same for everybody else, and doesn't mean that everybody will get sick, but I didn't have the most positive experience there. For the fun part, the tours. So there is an organization that is a nonprofit organization that is called No Mafia, and I did the No Mafia walking tour, and they basically gave a really great education on how the mafia actually works, especially in Sicily. I booked it through Get Your Guide, and it was a really interesting tour, and we're going to get more into this about Hollywood versus reality. But this is where the crux of what my lesson for the week came from, was this tour. It was really interesting. I recommend that you go check out Palermo Cathedral and Teatro Massimo. If you go to Teatro Massimo, they offer a tour on the inside. I didn't get to do that, but I've been told it's a really beautiful tour. For Palermo Cathedral, it's free to go inside, but you just pay to go up to the roof. I did not do that, but just know that you can. I went to the Capuchin Catacombs, which I only really did it to be able to tell my sister, because she said that when her and I were planning a trip to Paris at one point in time, that was her one request. So I wanted to be able to tell her about it, and it was just a little bit much for me. I didn't like seeing skeletons, and I also wasn't anticipating seeing skeletons of children and babies. So, and it was just seeing skeletons for the sake of seeing skeletons. There was no information or learning or anything else like that. So it felt icky for me. I did the UNESCO World Heritage Site guided tour, and I went with Stefania. It ended up being a one-on-one tour, which was really amazing. And she customized it to what I was interested in. She tried to get me to eat food, but because of the celiac, it just didn't work out. But she was really, really cool, and I learned a lot. And I said to her, how do you know? Are you able to tell if someone's in the mafia? And so she started pointing out to me, because I had just done the No Mafia walking tour, and she was like, okay, that one. And she started pointing me to these children. But again, put a pin in that. We'll get back to that in my lesson for the week once you get to that portion of the podcast. My favorite tour was probably doing the Monreale and Schiaffalo. I'm not pronouncing the names of the towns right. Half-day trip. And it's basically you go to a bunch of beach towns in Sicily, and it was gorgeous. I went at the right time of the year where it wasn't too hot, but it wasn't cold at all. You could wear just a long sleeve shirt, jeans, and be comfortable. And I got to sit on the beach and read for a while until we had to go to the next stop. And it was just so, so gorgeous. The city of Palermo itself, I felt was really gross. There's a lot of dog feces all over the place that you have to, at least it was when I was there. And I thought that was really gross. But the beaches were so clean, so beautiful, so nice. So if I were you, go to Sicily, make sure you're staying on the beaches. And these beaches were truly so, so gorgeous. Highly, highly recommend it. So the lesson of the week, Hollywood versus reality. So on the No Mafia tour, I'm going to be real, I've never seen the Godfather movies. I think because there's been so much buildup, I want to make sure that when I do watch them, I'm sitting down and focused and paying attention and in the right frame of mind to be able to enjoy it for the artistry that it is. And I just haven't had the ability to sit down and really watch it and take it in. So that's my shame on me, really bad film student moment. And also, I haven't seen a lot of mafia mob movies. It's just not my thing. I've seen a good chunk of The Sopranos, but that's pretty much it. And from my time at The Sopranos, I'm anticipating or have in my head that there's always a lot of money that's being thrown around, or that people, it's like teenage, older, like young 20s guys with greasy slicked back hair and leather jackets, and those are the guys that are walking around, doing the footwork, and that's who's the runners for the mafia. But in fact, learning about how it works in the tour, or in Sicily, I should say, sorry. But actually being in Sicily, and Naples and Sicily are the two big areas where you're really going to find the mafia, because you're going to find those types of organizations present in areas that are not as well off. So I'm not finding it as big of an issue in northern Italy, where I was based out of for the past year. So essentially, they go to all these organizations and they say, hey, you pay me $50. It's apparently the range of what they ask people to pay per month for quote unquote protection. And it's called POSO. This whole thing is called POSO is the term. They only ask you for 50 to 100 euros a month, in that range. They start out low and then every year they go up and up. And if you say no, would like to not do that, they will, wreck your car, make things disappear, whatever, do something, vandalizing things, making it a heck of a lot worse for you. And it's so expensive to fix the things that they've destroyed that it's just easier to pay the 50 euros a month. So that's why they do it for such little money, because then it makes it worth it. And then when you do it for 100 different organizations, 50 times 100, that adds up. So with that, there was these guys in the early 2000s that were trying to start up their business, and they said to, their friends, can you help us come up with what our budget would need to be able to start up this business? And they basically what they do, so the friend came up with this budget and they put in a line item for the POSO, and they said, what the heck is this? Why am I spending 50 euros a month? And the guy explained to the friends what I just explained to you. And they said, we're not doing that. And so they started going around to all these different organizations in the area, these local things of, let's all band together, put a sticker in our windows, and it'll hopefully help that if we make it known to people none of our money is going towards toward POSO, then you're supporting us and not supporting the mafia. Hopefully this grows and grows and grows, and then we can, be able to get rid of this whole system in the first place. There's power in numbers. And it has slowly grown to where now there's about 1,000 organizations in Sicily that are participating, and there are stickers on windows, and it's the mafia has lost power since this organization started spreading awareness, educating, things like that, talking about discussing the evils that they have done over the years. And if you want to find out more about specific points in history that the mafia has caused a lot of problems, Google it, go to Sicily, take this tour, learn about it. They also have a museum that's donations-based. I did not go to it, but if you want that education, don't want to go on a tour, go for it. And you see all around the city of Palermo that there's this graffiti art celebrating or memorializing, I should say, the victims of the mafia and putting their names out on display, and the mafia is not winning. And I think in my brain, and like I said earlier, as we're walking around in present day, I was noticing and thought it was really funny that I was seeing these kids on motorcycles. And I even remember texting my father and saying, how funny it was that these 12-year-olds were driving these motorcycles in Sicily and no one was batting an eye, that it was no big deal. Could you imagine in the United States, a 12-year-old driving a motorcycle, no helmet, nothing, and it not being a big deal? So turns out I'm on another tour, and I had asked the question to the tour guide, Stefania, and I said, now, how can you tell? And as I asked the question, there were two boys, no older than 15, on a motorcycle, and she goes, those boys are the mafia. They are the runners, and they're getting them in while they're young, and they're raising them and taking care of them and all this other stuff, so that way when they're older, they're they're in the process. The ones that are the rule breakers, those are the kids that are on the mafia. So to me, as a tourist, it makes the mafia laughable. And to me, it's like, oh, they must not have power, that they're big representation. I could beat them up. So those are the runners. Those are the people causing issues and making a ruckus. I would be more intimidated by the Hollywood version, and I'm sure what has been done in the past you'd see more so of maybe the stereotype of what American Hollywood media has portrayed the mobsters to be. So unfortunate for them, it just looks quite pathetic to be in the mafia. So I'm sure, I'm not giving a full history lesson on the mob, but it was a good lesson for me of don't believe everything that you read. Don't believe everything that you're watching on the TV. Investigate for yourself. If you're fortunate enough to go and physically visit the actual places that are being spoken of, great. If not, read as much as you can. Never make assumptions. So that is my big reminder for me. And I think that's really important in today's culture that's being forgotten about is do your research. Please, for the love of all that is holy, do your research. So that was my time in Palermo and my lesson learned, and I hope you enjoyed that learning. Here's the wrap-up questions. Do I feel the city is safe for those with celiac? Yes. My favorite place to eat, Sesto Canto. Favorite memory from the experience, the days where I was doing the beaches. Is this a city to vacation to or live in? Vacation to. Is this a place to relax or be active? Relax. How are the people? I could see why New Yorkers are the way that they are when so many Italians immigrated from Naples and Sicily and came through New York. That personality is very much still thriving in New York culture. You could totally see where it came from. So take that for what you will. And that's all I've got for this episode. Thank you so much for joining me on this week's episode of Eat, Explore, Love, the podcast. See you next time. Thank you for joining me this week for all the fun journeys and lessons learned on my big adventure called life. For more information on the different cities discussed, check out the blog posts on hieatexplorelove.com, posted every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you have any questions or fun stories to share, feel free to reach out at hieatexplorelove@gmail.com. Until next week, remember to eat well, explore the world, and love yourself. See you next time. This episode is produced, scripted, and edited by me, Ashley. Special thanks to Sarah Mientka.